Something isn't sitting right with me about the current direction of the Minnesota Vikings, and we need to talk about it. Ryan Fitzpatrick just went on national radio and delivered a harsh reality check, predicting that while Kyler Murray will have a successful debut this season, his performance and leadership will inevitably collapse thereafter. This matters because it challenges our entire gamble on Murray as a long-term franchise anchor rather than just a temporary fix. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. My name is Lucas. Like, subscribe, and comment your city. Let's get into it. Ryan Fitzpatrick has cast a dark shadow over the Minnesota Vikings as we prepare for the 2026 season, delivering a blunt prediction that our new quarterback Kyler Murray will eventually fail in Minneapolis. Murray arrives here following 7 inconsistent years in Arizona, looking for a career resurgence under head coach Kevin O'Connell and general manager Nolan Teasley. We have invested heavily in his physical talents, hoping for a franchise savior, but Fitzpatrick appearing on The Rich Eisen Show shattered that optimism. He projected a successful inaugural season followed by an inevitable collapse as the honeymoon period with our offensive system fades. And I cannot stress this enough, Fitzpatrick claimed these maturity issues will destroy our locker room chemistry. This assessment has hit our community hard, leaving many of us anxious about whether we have acquired a short-term answer or a ticking time bomb. We are desperate to avoid repeating the cycle of temporary solutions at the most critical position on the roster. It is deeply unsettling to hear a former professional question the character of our starter, especially when we are counting on him to lead us for the long haul. The fundamental concern now is whether our leadership team actually possesses a contingency plan for this specific scenario. If the internal vision for the roster is truly as shaky as these comments suggest, we must ask ourselves if Nolan Teasley has already identified a secondary path for 2027 should the Murray experiment crumble as predicted. Beyond the rhetoric from national analysts, there is a lingering tension regarding what happens when the pressure intensifies and the initial excitement of this trade wears off completely. Are we witnessing a calculated risk or a desperate gamble that could set this franchise back years? And what specific metrics will the front office use to determine if Murray is actually the right person to lead us forward? The most unsettling aspect of this move is that our front office opted for a high-stakes trade to acquire Kyler Murray despite his recent history of 7 seasons filled with inconsistency and internal friction. We find ourselves in this precarious position because the organization felt the need to aggressively pursue a talent who could maximize our current offensive window. Yet this decision ignores the pattern of maturity concerns that have seemingly followed him throughout his career. Let's be real. While we appreciate the ambition behind this reset under Kevin O'Connell, the statistical reality is that Murray has struggled to maintain production over the duration of a full campaign when compared to his hot starts. Historically, this team has seen similar experiments fail when leadership qualities did not align with the coaching staff's expectations for a franchise leader. Behind closed doors, it is likely that Nolan Teasley and his personnel staff believe they have built a specific, stable culture that acts as an insulation against the volatility that plagued Murray during his time in the desert. They are banking on the assumption that our environment is structurally superior to anything he experienced elsewhere, essentially gambling that they can fix the intangibles that others could not. This represents a significant deviation from the traditional roster construction we have grown accustomed to, as it prioritizes raw talent over the reliability typically sought by this franchise. If this gamble fails, the long-term impact on our cap space and draft capital will be profound, potentially hindering our ability to compete, as other teams like the Bears continue to evolve under their own new leadership. We have to consider whether this was a necessary pivot or a desperate reach, and unfortunately, the silence from the front office regarding any contingency plans only amplifies our collective anxiety as the season approaches. This gamble carries significant weight because the Vikings have pushed all their chips toward a singular offensive vision for 2026, creating a scenario where any deviation from success could force a total rebuild of our salary cap structure next spring. If this partnership fails, we are looking at an immediate hit to our dead money totals, potentially limiting our ability to retain key veteran assets who currently anchor our defense. The part fans are not ready for is how this uncertainty influences the coaching staff's willingness to stay aggressive during mid-season play calling. With this question mark hanging over the quarterback position, every single drive becomes a referendum on whether we remain a legitimate postseason contender or simply a team playing for high draft positioning. When we look ahead to our schedule, particularly those high-stakes division battles against the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions, the team must prove that our signal caller can handle intense pressure without folding under the scrutiny of the NFC North. If the maturity issues mentioned by experts actually manifest on the field, we will struggle to close out tight games against opponents who thrive on exploiting confusion or inconsistency at the helm. This shift creates a massive disadvantage in our division race, as the Bears and Lions are betting on stability while we are actively wagering on a high-risk, high-reward reset. Our playoff chances now hinge almost entirely on whether our veteran roster can insulate the quarterback from his own habits. If we cannot find a rhythm early, the rest of the conference will recognize that our window of opportunity is closing much faster than Nolan Teasley originally planned. The argument for this transition is clear because Kyler Murray offers a high-ceiling playmaker who can extend plays in a way our offense has lacked for years. Under Kevin O'Connell, he could finally maximize his potential by operating within a structured, modern system that protects his weaknesses while amplifying his rare physical gifts. However, the downside is equally significant, as relying on a quarterback with such documented inconsistencies risks a complete collapse of our competitive window if the locker room culture does not hold. What nobody is talking about is the quiet buzz surrounding how other organizations are watching this gamble unfold, with scouts around the league comparing this high-stakes move to the recent directions taken by the Seattle Seahawks or the Denver Broncos. While Ryan Fitzpatrick is clearly skeptical, I think his prediction of a one-year success followed by an immediate decline is somewhat sensationalized. My honest take here is that he is overestimating how much a professional athlete struggles to adapt when they are finally surrounded by a stable environment and a top-tier coaching staff. If Nolan Teasley has a vision, it likely involves building a foundation that does not hinge entirely on one individual, but rather on a cohesive team identity. I find it hard to believe that a player with 7 years of experience will simply walk away from success just because the initial shine of a new system wears off. Of course, the front office must be diligent, and while some speculate they are already scouting potential successors, I believe they are fully committed to making this work. We have seen other teams attempt these aggressive resets before, and while the path forward is anything but guaranteed, we must remain patient while the staff addresses the long-term sustainability of the position through consistent coaching and steady roster development. This overarching gamble puts our franchise at a pivotal crossroads, as the next few years will either solidify our status as perennial contenders or force an agonizing rebuild. If Ryan Fitzpatrick is correct, we are essentially renting a quarterback while hoping for lightning in a bottle. As Minnesota Vikings fans, we should feel a cautious sense of skepticism heading into this season, not because we lack faith in Kevin O'Connell, but because the leadership concerns raised by a veteran like Fitzpatrick provide a sobering dose of reality. And I'll be straight with you, relying on pure talent without the necessary intangibles to hold a locker room together is a dangerous game that rarely yields a championship trophy. We have seen how quickly momentum can shift when the chemistry between the signal caller and his teammates begins to erode, and that instability is exactly what we have worked so hard to avoid. You should feel invested in this journey because the talent is undeniable, yet keep your expectations measured given these professional concerns. If Nolan Teasley has not prepared for a scenario where this partnership fails after 1 year, our window of opportunity might close just as quickly as it opened. The long-term vision of this front office depends entirely on whether Kyler Murray can prove his critics wrong by evolving his maturity and presence. Looking at the situation as it stands today, do you believe that Kyler Murray will still be our starting quarterback for the 2028 season? Yes or no? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Skol. I'll see you in the next one. Your thoughtful engagement helps this community grow every single day, so thank you for watching, sharing your unique perspectives, and staying dedicated to supporting our team through every snap.